Hi everyone, welcome back to the Honest Athletes podcast. We have decided to do a 2022, I nearly said 2023 then, 2022 wrap up of the year, what we've been up to since our last season, because it's been a little while, and also just to get ready as we will be starting a new season in the new year, which we're looking forward to. But we just thought we'd give a little insight into what's been going on. There's been some exciting things, including someone got married and it wasn't me. So you know who it is? Hannah, how are you? Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. And I'm currently a bit cold, but okay.
Very cold, very cold.
Yeah.
It's the season of scraping the windows in the morning. So all you swimmers that are getting up at the minute and having to scrape before morning training, we're with you. We've done it. We're still doing it sometimes. I mean, now it's freezing. Hannah just said it's minus 17, or it was at one point last night.
Yeah, last night. So in Balmoral, which is not too far away from where I live, and yeah, it got down to minus 17 last night. So it was a bit fresh. And remember the days of getting up for morning training, you just refuse to get out of your pajamas. So it's like the biggest jumper and your tracksuit bottoms on top of your pajamas, so you didn't have to get changed out of them.
It is. It's like put as many clothes as you can on at the minute and just hope for the best. Yeah, that minus 17, that is mental. But before we get into the juicy stuff, getting married, love to ask so many questions about this. How has everything been? Work-wise, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so I actually just celebrated my 1 year anniversary of transitioning. So since leaving the competitive world of elite swimming, and surviving 1 year of being Hannah, sort of leaving the who I am, kind of, not Hannah the swimmer anymore, Hannah somebody, trying to find my own, I guess, a new identity. And it's been interesting. Work's been good. I've kind of been doing lots of little bits. I found one of the key things, if you're ever going to go through a transition, and I say the word transition rather than retirement. For me, that's helped an awful lot with my own mindset and how I viewed it. Retirement felt too final, and that was it. And swimming's been such a big part of my life, to just end it suddenly just was really, really hard to come to terms with. Whereas transition allows me to still say I'm a swimmer, because I do still swim every now and then, but I just transitioned my goals, my viewpoint on what the elite side of it was, to now everyday Hannah. And that transition actually has been really, really fun and quite nice. But yeah, it's kept me on my toes. I kind of made the mistake to start with of saying yes to everything, and then completely overwhelming myself and getting very full in my diary, to then being like, right, okay, I need to pull back a little bit, and then saying no to quite a few things, and then realizing I'm panicking, thinking I'm not busy enough. So it's been trying to get that work-life balance of work. For me as a swimmer was finishing the day being mentally and physically exhausted and feeling like I needed to do the exact same thing, and actually realizing that's not quite healthy to do that in a non-competitive sense. So it's been a learning curve, a really big learning curve that's taken me a little while to get used to, and I'm still figuring it out and still trying to work on it. But yeah, there's been some exciting opportunities. Like, I've been able to do some commentary work at the Commonwealth Games, which was great. And even just dealing with the fact of it's my first summer of actually not competing at a major event. So kind of dealing with the emotions of that. Got married as well, signed up and started running my own Pilates classes as well, which was really good fun. Became a co-host for the Honest Athlete podcast as well, which has been an amazing journey too. And then also became a stunt double in a movie as well. And yeah, there's been lots of exciting little kind of things around that. So yeah.
So many questions from what you've just said, but if we just rewind back to transitioning out of competitive sport, it's an interesting one, and it's one that takes a long time. If you'll ever get through it, I don't know if any of us do, but it is a long process and an amazing one. But also, like you said, it has difficult times. What are some of the things that you've learnt 1 year post? Because I did see you saying post a lot of times in a minute, but what I did see you post that, and it got me thinking, what have I kind of learned since I finished, transitioned out of swimming. And it made me think, well, I wonder what Hannah would say to her for 1 year, because 1 year, even though it's a long time, it's also not a long time. And, you know, there's still things that I'm sure you deal with day to day, as you said. But yeah, what are some of the things that you've learned? Because there's obviously a lot of people out there who will be either starting that journey or maybe 1 year in like you are. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's different ways coming into the transition. There's the choice of, I have the choice to make the option to transition. And then there's obviously when it's taken out of your hands, whether it's due to injury, due to, lifestyle situation. So everybody leaves their sport in their kind of own way, but it kind of comes down to whether you had the choice to leave on your own terms or not. I was very fortunate that I was able to leave my sport on my own terms, which helped massively. I kind of knew it was coming to that point when I felt I was ready for swimming to not be a priority anymore. Swimming was always number one in the list of priorities that I had. It was always top. So everything was sacrificed and kind of supporting that number one priority, which was being an elite athlete. And I got into the stage where I realized I was ready for that to maybe drop down to maybe 3 or 4. Still kind of high up there, but maybe not as important or as high up. And that was when I kind of knew. And it was more as well the racing. Like, I still loved the training. I still love being able to do the training and having that script to follow, having that team around you. But I kind of knew when I was racing, you just instinctively knew, like, I'm done. I'm ready to move on to the next thing. And yeah, it kind of, the biggest lesson I learned was actually self-confidence. It was almost like rebuilding myself. My confidence took a massive hit afterwards, because I've gone from an environment where I felt so confident, so used to knowing who I was, what I needed to do, my structure, my routine, everything about my lifestyle was based on being on poolside. And now that that wasn't routine, I almost hit like a bit of a honeymoon phase to start with, because it was like, oh, I've got so much time. I can do this. I can do that. I don't have to be in bed by 9 o'clock. I don't have to get up at 4:30 in the morning. I could. There was just, going into like Primark or H&M in a sale. There's just so much opportunity and so much stuff. You just have to like go in and find it out. And for me, it was like a little bit like that. You kind of feel like, oh, this is amazing. I've got so much stuff. So I ended up driving down to Birmingham. Ewan was doing some work, and I kind of got to visit some of my family. Took Poppy with me, and just that opportunity of being able to actually just go and visit family without the pressure of, I need to find a swimming pool because I need to maintain my training whilst I'm doing this family visit. I could actually just be like, I'm just going to go and drop in for a cup of tea, a couple of sandwiches with my gran, and just, spend as long or as little time as she wants me there for. So, that felt amazing. And then it was the new year, and the reality of, okay, I'm not a swimmer. And not that, as a swimmer, you're financially in a great position anyway. I wasn't on funding, but I think I definitely did bury my head a lot when it came to finances. All of a sudden, the reality hit me of, I have a mortgage to pay. I need to set up a pension. And it just panicked me and it freaked me out. And the funny thing is I was not financially in the exact same position as when I was swimming, but it never bothered me because swimming was priority number one. Whereas now I was like, oh dear, this is quite scary. What am I doing? I need to jump into a 9 to 5 job. I need to do this. I need to do that. And if somebody said, what career do you want to do? I didn't have a clue. And I still don't really know what I want to do. So it's kind of giving myself that chance. And the thing is, I could have very easily just jumped straight into something. But I spoke about it with you, and then we kind of worked it out that I was going to take my time to try and figure out what it is that I enjoyed doing, rather than jumping into something thinking I'd enjoy it and then maybe getting stuck or tied in with it. So I've slowly been trying to build up, little bits working around the female health side. And I guess the key bit of advice that I figured out was, if you're passionate about something, you're going to be more likely to be motivated to do it. And for me, especially working around female health and helping coaches, athletes, parents around menstruation, I didn't realize how passionate I was about it until I started talking more and more about it. And I realized, this actually could go somewhere. And I've, had a great opportunity of meeting some individuals. And then I actually ended up speaking to Lizzie Simmons, because I really did struggle January, February time with my confidence, with where I needed to go with things, what I was supposed to do. I just felt extremely lost. And um, my brothers, one's an accountant, one's in the RAF, and then it was like a Hannah. It was just this blank kind of space after my name. Instead of saying, oh, Hannah the swimmer, it's like Hannah the what. So I felt I needed to fill that with a label of sorts. And I've kind of come to the realization that you don't need the label. You don't need to define yourself by a title or anything. It's handy to have. But I've kind of enjoyed and actually learned to be a bit more confident in just being Hannah rather than Hannah the something. So that's been an interesting one, and it comes with waves. Like, there's times where I feel on top of things. I feel like, right, I'm organized, I'm excited about the future, this, that, and the other. And then there's days where I'd wake up and really struggle to actually wake up. Gone from being, someone who could get up really easily at 4:30 in the morning to now really struggling to get up before 8 a.m. And that bit scared me a little bit, because I had my own set values as an athlete. I had this structure, routine, held myself accountable for everything that I did. And then I could see some of those values changing. And I was like, do I like this version? I don't know. So it's kind of been almost like a rebuild. But the biggest thing that helped me a lot was talking. So that's why doing this podcast has been actually a key part within my transition, was actually hearing other people's stories, talking. I've got the gift of the gab. I can talk the hind legs off a donkey, and actually validating what I'm feeling, and actually realizing that it's okay. It's okay to feel rubbish. It's okay to feel like you're struggling. And hearing Charlene Joyner, that one phrase that she said, what would you say to your younger self? And she said, you are good enough. Reminding myself that I am good enough. I don't have to be a swimmer to be good enough. I can still be Hannah and be good enough. And it's just been an interesting rebuild of, getting excited and exploring of, what can I do? Where do I want to be? What do I want to kind of try out, and trying different little things, being like, yeah, I enjoyed that, or nah, that's kind of maybe not for me, but feeling happy enough that I actually got myself into that opportunity to try it. Because that's where I realized that my confidence was starting to be rebuilt, because I was terrified of even trying something, because I felt I'm going to fail at it, or I don't want to be good at it. Everyone assumes, oh, you're an Olympian, you are, like a superhuman, in that you're good at everything. And if you're not good, and if you don't meet that expectation, am I worthy enough to call myself an Olympian, sort of thing. So I had to really try and manage that mindset, and actually realize that I'm still human. I was an Olympian as a swimmer. I was very good at splashing around. Doesn't mean that I'm an Olympian at washing the dishes, or putting the washing on and forgetting that there's a red sock in a white laundry, and the usual normal little things. And then decided to really add more chaos as we added another dog into our lives, and we brought in Milo, and she came into our lives in April. And I mean, I don't know if anybody's got kids listening in, you kind of have maybe that lull of false sense of security of one child thinking, this is great, we've got the hang of this, let's add another one. We went through the same mindset with Poppy, because we were thinking, we know how to handle spaniels. Poppy's great, she's doing really well. Let's add another one. Well, Milo is a completely different kettle of fish and made us question everything. She was really hard work, like a lot of hard work, but she kind of gave me purpose again for getting back up in the mornings. Like, we were slept on the sofa for the first week, alternating, just to make sure that, taking her out for toilets, getting her into that routine. Bless her, Poppy didn't really know what hit her by having to share attention and share the space with this other pup, but she realized that Milo does come with perks, and that there's a lot more attention given all around. But yeah, it's been great, because then that's kind of instilled, right, you have to get up. Because Poppy, I guess we were getting a little bit too comfortable in that. She's really easygoing, really straightforward. Whereas now Milo, she does require a bit more attention and a bit more focus and routine with it. So definitely getting up in the mornings was more for her, and it was quite nice doing it for her rather than trying to do it for myself, because so that's a very long-winded answer to your question, but there's so much context to it, and I could go on for hours about it, but yeah.
No, no, it's good. And that's why we do a podcast, right? The idea of a podcast is to talk and to listen and to learn and all those kinds of things. And every time you speak, I always learn a little something here and there. And it's just nice to hear you chat about, honestly, really, about well, what you've been through and the tough parts. You know, it's tough transitioning out. And as you've said, and there was a period where you reached out and you said talking is an amazing thing to do. And it's so right. And also, I think the thing about having a title really kind of makes a lot of sense, and hopefully will to a lot of people. Of how often do you introduce someone as, say, Hannah the swimmer? And I really try not to do that. I don't really think I ever do that. I always say, if I'm introducing someone, Hannah, oh, she's amazing. She's so funny. Like, it's just, we work so well together, or I love spending time with Hannah. It's never Hannah, the accountant. Oh, this is Hannah, the accountant, you know? It's normally, oh, this is Hannah. She's amazing. You know, it's that kind of thing. And I think having that title, it does people feel pressured to have that. But actually, one of the best things that you've done, and you've said this pretty much from the start, of having that time to allow yourself to figure it out rather than just jump straight into something where, you know, I don't even know if I'll enjoy this, but I just need to do it. No, actually, just allowing yourself to have that time to figure yourself out. Who are you? You know, it's a normal process to go through. I had this conversation with someone the other day of that identity of it does just go, and it's a complex situation. But and would you change what you've been through? No, but you do need to have that time to kind of allow yourself to, I don't know, just figure things out and not have to rush it necessarily. So it's been great to kind of watch and see you go through that period of just, who am I? Who is Hannah? And you've been up to a lot. Just obviously mentioned that you got two dogs. And
Yeah.
I do remember, just touching on that very quickly, I do remember you putting a post out saying, don't forget, like, the puppy, if you see like people posting, yeah, you see people posting that it's amazing, and it is, but there are tough times as well with it, and you've got to stick with it and stuff like that. And I think, again, that's something that's really good, just to follow you on social media of, no, no, you'll tell the truth, you'll be honest, and you'll say it is amazing, but don't forget there are tough moments in there too, like you've just said, puppy blues.
Yep. Yeah, puppy blues. And it's a bit like, transition blues. You go through those little bits as well, but the puppy blues is a very real thing. Getting a puppy, great, so much excitement, but the repetition of always taking them out for toilet, them peeing on the floor, they chew things, because you have to give them so much attention. Like, it is almost like having a newborn baby, in that you do have to watch them at all times. And you can't get mad at them, because they're coming into a world where they don't understand what it's like to be human. They don't know what our rules are. We have to teach them. So, getting angry, it's more about, well, what did I do as an owner that was wrong? So, peeing on the floor, must have missed the signs. It's not the dog's fault. I obviously just misread what they were telling me if they needed out. And it's tough going, especially when they go through. We nicknamed Milo the crocodile for a while, because she has very sharp teeth as a puppy,
Oh,
and very mouthy. And some dogs are just that little bit more mouthy, and it can be draining, because you're running on little lack of sleep. And you don't want them destroying everything, but as a pup, they've got to be entertained. They get tired easily, but they can also go overtired. So making sure you get them, to force them to have an off switch. So for the spaniels, one thing we always taught was, let them sleep. Let them sleep as much as possible, even if we put them. So we have them both crate trained for that reason, because it's a safe space. You can leave them on their own, and they're not going to get into mischief or trouble. But it teaches them to switch off, because I think a lot of mistakes people think with puppies, we need to tire them out. We have to actively tire them out. Give them exercise, do this, that, and the other. When actually you can tire them out in so many different ways. There's brain enrichment, getting them working for their food, doing trick training, and you only need to spend like 5-10 minutes, and then put them into their bed, and they will sleep. Whereas you get to the point where they become overtired, and that's when they become really hyperactive, or they become really bitey, and And it is, and it's tough. I think a lot of people don't realize actually that puppy blues is a very real thing, and we definitely hit that with Milo. So it was like, yes, puppy pictures are very, very cute. However, behind the scenes, it's can be a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but it's good. It's good to be honest and make people aware of these things. Now,
Yeah.
you mentioned something a minute ago, stunt double. Please
Yeah.
explain what's going on here.
So I can't kind of tell too much about it because the movie's
Okay.
not out yet, but it was just the last call to help out with swimming in the English Channel. And I kind of was like, yeah, why not? I'm not going to turn this down. So yeah,
So we'll
myself.
be seeing you swimming at some point somewhere.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it'll be a very, very small image, and there's two other incredible swimmers as well that were involved. So the three of us were basically put in the English Channel, and yeah, just kind of told to swim, and it was to get helicopter shots because where they were
Wow.
filmed location wise, I think weren't able to use the helicopter. So yeah, it's a shame because I can't tell too much about it until it comes out. But
Yeah.
it was an incredible experience, just a completely different world. And yeah, we were on. I got very, very seasick.
Oh,
We were on
no.
a boat from like 11 a.m. till 9 o'clock at night, and
Oh no.
it was beautiful like weather because it was sunny, and you know it was really, really nice and lovely. Didn't fry either because I put on so much sun cream, which was being the
Nice.
pale spot. But yeah, and then we hit about when it was coming into sunset of loads of jellyfish, which was terrifying. I didn't realize I had a fear of jellyfish until I had to swim in a sea full of them.
Whilst getting filmed.
Yeah, well, it's getting filmed and trying to freak out as they like dribble underneath you, and oh yeah, it was. Um, but yeah, it was just one of those bizarre things where once it finished, I thought, did I just really do that? I mean, I just swam, but it
Yeah.
was very, very cool. So look forward to seeing it, and the story behind the film, it's based on a true story, is incredible. It's an amazing story. So I think it comes out on Disney Plus at some point. Don't know
Oh,
whether
wow.
by the year, but yeah, it was just again opportunity. It was just somebody that had asked, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
free. Yeah, just let me
That's
swim.
incredible. Hannah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. But and when it comes out, whenever that is, we'll definitely discuss that, and I will do a
Yeah.
technical analysis on the stroke that you do in the sea as well. So I look forward to seeing that though. That's amazing. So you're now a Hollywood star as well, or a Disney Plus star.
Disney Plus
Got
star,
that
yeah,
it's
Disney
one second.
princess.
And
No. Oh,
so you did also earlier touch on commentating at the commies.
yeah,
How was that? Because I bet that's such a weird, like, I always
yeah,
say you see things differently when you've experienced the side of it that not most people get to see. So now that you're watching it and kind of commentating on it, did you find it pretty exciting actually having a different perspective than maybe to most that do commentate?
yeah. It was like a whole host of emotions to start with because I felt devastated that it was going to be my first games that I wasn't going to be at. I've been at a Commonwealth Games since 2006, and for me to feel like showing my age here.
Yeah.
Um,
I was 11, 2006.
Aw. You me, Laura. Uh, and it just really hurt feeling like I'm not gonna go. And for me, the whole point of being part of Team Scotland for the Commonwealth Games was the very reason why, I kind of kick-started my career. So to not be there, even to spectate, I was really, really upset. So when I got the call through to ask if I was available, I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm available. Like, just get me there. And then when I realized the concept and the whole context of actually commentating, it kind of hit me quite hard because I suddenly panicked thinking, do I still know everybody? Do I have enough to say about people? Because I want it to be more than just, oh, high elbows, hand position, more technical. I want it to be personal as well. So I'm trying to do the research behind it was hilarious because I kind of went into super swimming geek mode where I was so analytical about every swimmer. And then I realized there's a lot of swimmers here. I can't do that for absolutely everybody. Maybe I'll go by event. Oh, but then you've got some swimmers that are multi-eventing. do I just do it? So yeah, trying to figure out how to study for it was actually really interesting. So I was keeping up to date with, because obviously this year was the year where we had pretty much every competition going, bar an Olympic Games. So keeping up to date with, the World Championships, what people roughly were entering, keep an eye on like Swim Swam, the swimsuit guy, like all the kind of like swimming news going about in Swim Vortex too. Trying to stay up to date with who was competing, who had maybe withdrawn, what people had done competition wise across the world, anybody doing set, really good times at different competitions throughout the year. But when it actually came to walking on poolside, or actually walking up in the stands to where I was going to be, it was the most bizarre feeling ever, because I walked on pool deck and all of a sudden you're hit with the exact same feeling and emotion as I would if I was competing. The sort of little butterflies in my stomach, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of nerves, and then all of a sudden the sheer panic because I realized I hadn't brought my racing suit with me. And it was like I had to kind of stop and remind myself, I'm not competing, it's fine. Yeah. But that sudden realization of my body almost went through like a little checklist of being like, right, walk in, there's the pool, there's the call room, there's the starting end, right, swimsuit car. I don't have any of that with me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was really, really bizarre. But then, telling myself, it's okay, I don't need it, it's fine. And I had to keep telling myself, it's fine. And then I kind of went through a little emotion that I'd never really experienced before. And it was, am I actually going to be okay watching? Because I thought, am I going to, because this was the first competition. I can watch little district competitions and little club meets when I've helped doing commentary stuff that way. But this was quite a big deal for me. And I thought, am I going to be okay actually watching this competition? Because I've heard some people say they really struggle watching their event for the first time since since transitioning. And I suddenly panicked thinking, oh, am I actually going to be okay? And I was really grateful that I was co-commentating with, the amazing Bob Ballard, who is just the king of knowledge when it comes to swimming and commentating. And he was an incredible mentor to have. And then Liz Johnson as well. And both of them were just great. They really helped keep me in check with what I needed to do. I definitely overcomplicated things to start with. And they, as I was learning as I went, because it's not something that you can just do this, this, and this, and you'll be fine. You have to learn as you go because you've got so much information. And it gave me a real insight to actually, I used to get really annoyed. Oh, they've pronounced my club wrong, or they've pronounced my name wrong. Oh, they didn't announce this right. And I suddenly realized there's a lot of information. It's hard. Yeah. It's really hard.
Yeah.
So we had the information that the sort of BBC gave us, research for each of the athletes, each heat, each name, and their age, and different little stats. And then it was up to us to add any extra little bits. So you were given these different booklets of information that researchers had done. So, you end up on the table and there's three of us and we've all got our bits of paper and you're surrounded by highlighters, paper, pen. You've got the screens that gave you the individual splits and the sort of live timing. You also then had a TV for the actual swimming. And then you obviously had the actual swimming behind that in front of you. And it was being able to make a split-second decision of what you needed to say with what you've just seen in that one moment and time it with Bob, making sure that I didn't talk over him and also didn't leave awkward silences. And your brain does some incredible things when it's put under pressure. I mean, I made so many mistakes, but they told me it was fine. And that's one thing as well, going through this transition, was realizing that mistakes are okay. It's fine. Sometimes, yeah, okay, they might not be great, but it's okay to make them. And I think as an athlete, you fear making mistakes because you feel that it's the worst thing in the world. So I was cringing and, really self-criticizing an awful lot after day one, because it was, looking at the acronyms of the countries, SCO, Scotland, ENG, England, AUS for Australia. And my brain, when it saw South Africa, RSA, kept thinking Russia, which I think was the worst country I mention. And it'd be like, oh, no. This swimmer from Russia, South Africa. And I thought, oh, no. And then there was one lad, Javier Acevedo. I just kept reading his name as avocado. And I was like, I really struggled to not say avocado. So it was like, yeah. And the swimmer was coming through. And I thought, I want to say his name, but I know that it's not going to be the right name coming out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so your brain does go through some incredible things.
Yeah.
And just managing rest as well, because you were there, 2 hours before it starts. We had an opportunity to catch up and meet the coaches, so you could get a little bit of an insight as to how things were going, because you want to put out the best for the athletes. It's not just about the stats. And then you're right there to the bitter end once you get the sign off, and then the set buses. So it was hard. And then once you finished like day, you then had to do your study and research for the next day.
Yeah.
So you're getting back at like 11:30, midnight. You've only had like a sandwich for dinner. And then I got another hour and a half of studying, making sure I knew what events were coming up, who the key people to talk about were, what the little extra bits were. And there were a couple of curveballs thrown at you as well. So they had some where we, just before we're about to start, we'd done all our highlighting, knew who was swimming when. They would come over and say, just to let you know, we've had to reseed the first event. And then you get given the start list, and you've got all the names and all the notes for the original start list. And you're like, oh, they're not in the same order.
Oh no.
Having to like get the highlighter again and being like, right, this heat is going to be the yellow heat. I'm going to have to highlight, go through all the pages and find out, right, who's now in this heat, and be able to, yeah. So that
Sounds
was
like there's so much, and because this might sound like a silly question, but I'm going to ask in terms of people that are obviously listening as well, of like, do you watch the screen or are you watching the pool?
It's both. I think for sprint events, because it happens so quickly, because not that there's too much of a time delay with what you see on the screen, it's easier to call it when you're actually standing up and looking at the pool and seeing it that way. Some of the longer distances you can get away with looking at the screen, but there were times where we would be sitting, but then you'd have to stand up and then sit, especially if it got really, really close, because you want to be able to call the finish. And Bob is great at being able to do that. So watching how he does it, and you just have to rely on instinct. And again, it's not something of, oh, it's sprint, we have to stand. You just have to rely on what you feel is going to give you the best amount of commentary. And sometimes you feel like, no, I need to stand for this. I need to actually see it. And there were times where I stood and Bob and Liz didn't. And that's fine, because they knew they could handle it. Whereas for me, I felt, no, I need to actually see this live. So yeah, and we were all there to help as well. So if we were talking about something and you noted, oh, they've not spotted, someone in the outside's actually coming through, you can like get your pen and just point to the screen and be like, this person, talk about this person.
Yeah.
And that kind of teamwork was actually really, really helpful. So yeah, it was great. And even when it came to watching the 400 IM, like, to start with, watching the heats were hard. Like, it was really hard, because I saw the time that would make the final and I thought, oh, I could have done that. I felt like I could have really done that. But then seeing Summer McIntosh break my games record and absolutely smash it out of the park, I then felt, no, I've made the right decision. This is good. And actually, it was really exciting to talk about the event in such an exciting way and see how much she's progressed it. And then seeing Katie Shanahan, get a medal for Scotland as well. But for me, the moment was Ross Murdoch. I bawled my eyes out. I had to like turn my
I'm out of commentary for this one.
Yeah.
This moment, Bob, take it away.
Tears. I was in tears. And the thing is, I wasn't doing any of the breaststroke events. Liz Johnson was doing covering the breaststroke events. And I just, it really hit me emotionally. And it was wonderful to see. Even when Duncan Scott was on the podium and singing the national anthem, you could see Ross leg it from the swim down pool into the stands. And bearing in mind, the athletes are at the opposite end of the pool from where we are for the commentary. And you could hear him clear as day, like belting out the national anthem. So for me, having those moments and memories just aided that transition of, I'm not there as the athlete, but I'm there as a spectator. I have a job and I get to experience these wonderful moments. And it just made the whole thing really positive. And it helped my confidence as well at the end of it, because I really did put myself out of my comfort zone. And Amy Wilmot was there. She was doing the poolside commentary as well. So it was nice to see athletes, previous athletes, get involved in the games. And that's what I love about the Commonwealth Games. It is the friendly games. It's all about getting involved. And yeah, really, really made the whole experience amazing.
Well, we thought you did an amazing job with the commentary.
Oh,
And, there was always going to be that very emotional side because it was your first one since being there and doing it. But that also brings the empathy that you understand, you get it, you've been there literally millions of times. And it was just, I think it's just so nice as well for the athletes to have that mixture of someone like Bob, who is incredible and knows it inside out,
yeah.
also with someone who has just recently transitioned out of being that swimmer on poolside and being stood behind the blocks. And I think that mixture is just amazing. And Liz as well, having the whole kind of range, it's just incredible. I'm sure you've learned so much, as you've already said. And so hopefully moving forward, I mean, would you love to do more of that? Is that kind of something you're thinking, yeah, I'd love to kind of be at these major events?
Yeah, I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it if I was with somebody else. I think if I was asked to do it on my own, I'd panic a little bit more. I mean, I would still give it a good shot, but I definitely work better when you've got that company there because you can bounce off people. And as I say, Bob was so good at being able to ask the right questions and fill the gaps. And he's just got that natural eye and natural instinct for it. But also, one thing that I actually wasn't aware of before, but kind of almost fell down the rabbit hole was reading things online. So when I was trying to do some of my research, I would go on SwimSwam and big mistake going down looking at the comments because I don't know who is listening. And then everybody's got an opinion whether they like you or don't. And if they don't, they can be really brutal. And actually reading some of the comments was really hard. And I wish I hadn't done it. But it's all part and parcel of you're never going to please everybody and having to grow a bit of a thicker skin and being like, it doesn't matter what this person says. It's almost like what I used to do before going into a major meet. I would delete my social media apps because you can have so many positive messages, and all it takes is for one person to put something nasty, and you focus in on that. And it was almost reliving that, but in not in an elite athlete sense, but as Hannah the person sense. And it was hard because I felt very vulnerable in a sense of I don't know who I am at the minute, and you're already commenting that I'm rubbish at this, or I don't know what I'm talking about, or who they pulled this out of the bag, she's terrible. So it's really hard to try and not get dragged into reading them because curiosity, we're very curious individuals, but at the same time knowing when to shut it off and actually it doesn't matter, and trying to teach myself to learn that that doesn't matter was really difficult, but I would love to do it again. I really enjoyed it, and it allows me to still stay in touch with the sport because I want to, I've done it for so long that for me to just park it to one side and move on feels very, very difficult. Some people do, some people just don't want anything to do with their sport when they leave, and that's fine. But for me, I just want that little bit of involvement and connection with it. And if it's via commentary, that would be incredible. Being able to actually be there and experience it as like live. I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. A lot of hard work, but satisfying because you felt like you were trying to do the athletes justice in shouting about their performances, talking about what they've been through, the year that they've had, and giving them that platform to basically showcase their awesomeness. And it's not just the top elite athletes that you expect to do well. It's you get the breakthrough swimmers in the beginning heats, you get some of the swimmers that actually have done a massive personal best time and nobody really knows about it. So it kind of gives everyone that opportunity to have their time to shine. So yeah, I'd certainly love to do it again.
No, I think it's definitely one of your things that you're amazing at, and it would be great to have you carry on because I always think it's a shame, you've swam for so long, you're such a legend in the sport. Why it'd be a waste if you just then didn't want to be involved in the sport. And if you didn't, then that's fair enough. But as you do, lucky us, because then you continue down that path and you continue giving back. With regards to still being involved in the sport, I know we both still heavily are, and it's just so nice to see, and that's kind of what we'll talk about moving forwards. I think with the podcast, we've got a few topics already that we think are really important, and we're both seeing still being involved in the sport. I mean, I'm part of Altrincham Swim Club. I coach 1 or 2 times a week. The coaching team are incredible. The swimmers are amazing, but there are those kind of things that we would have gone through as swimmers that I can now see in this next generation, and there will always be, that we can support with and hopefully help out. But that's been amazing to kind of be on poolside and coach the swimmers that are kind of thriving to do what people like you have done. And just that training regime, it's difficult, it's tough, but to be able to support in that way is great. And to be coaching again. And I say to them sometimes, you know, you're not going to like me at times, but that's not what I'm here to be. I'm not here to be your best friend. I'm here to support you and make you better swimmers, and hopefully we'll have fun along the way. So yeah, it's been really nice to be on poolside in that capacity. Now, the final thing I wanted to talk about today.
Yes.
Someone got married. It wasn't me, like I said. So how was that? How was that whole experience of kind of getting married, having a wedding?
Expensive.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah. So, I mean, a wedding's as expensive as you want it to be. But we've been engaged since 2017, and we both kind of had the mindset that we would wait until I finished swimming, and then we would wait until we bought a house. Who knew in 2017 I still had a wee way to go in my career.
Nice.
But also how hard it is being, and I say self-employed in inverted commas, being self-employed trying to get a mortgage. Like, that in itself is really difficult. And it's one of the things I've realized actually once I was transitioning was, I wish I had a little bit of insight or information to have little bits to help you, you know. So maybe as a young teen, have a credit card so you get that credit score. Have, you know, if you're on funding, you know, there are ways of being able to use that as a source of reliable income so you can get a mortgage. I was no longer on funding, but I wish I had a bit of insight of, well, if you did this, this, and this, that would help give you or show that you had income coming in, and, you know, we could get you through all the red tape. So it took us about three and a half years to try and get a mortgage. It took a long time. And then once we did get it, well, we got it and then we lost it because it was just before COVID hit. Because all the banks pulled the mortgage in principle when lockdown had hit. And then a year and a bit later, we then got it and then we bought the house. And it's a fun story because we actually bought the house and Ewan had never actually seen the house. So that was
that sounds good.
My part. But that's a whole different story. But anyway, we always said we'd wait until after we got a house because we'd rather invest in the house, and then whatever money we had left over, we put into the wedding. And funnily enough, we didn't have that much money left over. But we decided, so we got our house last September, and then January this year, we both sat and we're like, should we just do it and get married this year? Yeah, okay. So
I love that. I love that you're just like, yeah, let's do it this year, yeah.
So then we started looking about, and Ewan, I'm very lucky with, he graduated as an architect. So he's got an incredible eye for just design and creativity. He's got such a creative mind, and that's why he's in the business of sports photography and videography. Whereas for me, I have to physically see it. I really struggle to visualize it sometimes. I can visualize a 400 IM in my sleep, like over and over, but trying to visualize what a venue would look like, adding all these different bits, it was quite overwhelming. So I did rely a lot on Ewan to kind of help put into perspective for me what my vision was and what his vision was, and then being able to try and make it visible for me to see so that we could then go to different places. So going around doing like the venue, we visited, I think, about 3 venues, and the last venue that we fell in love with, had only been doing weddings for like a year, and it was just perfect because there was one wedding venue that we really wanted to go to, but it was just so expensive. And you basically get given the shell. It's a barn, and you know, you don't have like tables or chairs, it's just the actual venue itself. And the cost of that, like during the week, was, you know, quite expensive, and then the weekend was just even more expensive. So fun fact, to save money, get married on a weekday rather than a weekend. It's a lot cheaper, and the place that we found just fitted everything. It was within what we kind of thought budget wise we were looking for. It included a lot of things, and the event manager was just fantastic. She could see we were quite overwhelmed with it all, and she gave us so much really great advice, especially when we were thinking, God, the cost of flowers, this, that, and the other. She says eucalyptus is great. It's really cheap, smells lovely, and, you know, it's really easy to have. So we thought, right, we'll base that as our kind of main color theme. And it's things that you don't realize actually you kind of have this battle of, you want to focus on the important stuff, but then there's little things that come in and you think, is that important, is it not? So again, to save money, we created like a wedding website and created these little tickets, and we'd hand the invites out. We didn't do save the dates because both of us didn't think that was a thing. We thought, oh, we'll just send the invite and either they can make it or not. But apparently there's a thing of save the dates, and we thought, oh.
Oh, well,
okay.
never mind. It's a weekday. It's fine.
Yeah. We try to get the date to kind of manage so that we can get as many people as we'd like to have. And then again, obviously the cost of feeding everybody, because food is quite expensive. So we thought, right, what we'll do is we'll feed family. And then all the friends that we want invited, we'll have them come for the evening reception, but everybody's invited for the ceremony. So it's just, we don't feed people other than just family members for the afternoon. So it meant that anybody who wanted to come could basically be there for the whole day, but they would just have to go somewhere to find food, and then they'd be back. So they don't really miss anything. And it was great. So putting the invites out, getting responses back. You then obviously have the little family of, oh, we want this or we want that person invited, and trying to deal with that was a little bit like, but it all came together. And the one thing that, as soon as we said we were getting married, the first and only clear decision I made was Poppy's being the ring bearer. I said, Poppy's
that's amazing.
That's it. So we got her practicing with a little bucket, got her to sit, wait, gave her a bucket, and then she would come down like the living room and then to the kitchen and give us the bucket. And we were very lucky that the flyball team that we're part of, one of the girls there is part of a hydrotherapy clinic that do wedding packages where they look after your dog for the day. Great business, by the way. It's like so needed. People that want their dogs there but don't know who to look after them. It's fantastic. So she looked after Poppy and Milo on the day, and they had little bandanas that said dog of honor and then flower pup. Milo, flower pup, and Poppy was the dog of honor. And it just, I mean, they always say the day goes past like a blur, but it really, really does. And we had, all the people that could make it there. It would just, yeah. I mean, we're able to add in little bits that were for us, because everyone tells you it's your day. Remember, it's your day. But by the end of it, you feel like, is it really our day? Because we're having to accommodate so many people. Oh, we don't like this, we like that. But the bit that I quite liked was for us to add in our own personal twist. So with the venue we could add in little bits. So we had like a table that had all kind of important personal parts for me. So I had like a pair of arena fins on the desk with a little teddy bear that had some of my Olympic kit made into the bear. Ewan had Anthony Nolan's shirt when he was doing all of his fundraising for raising money for Anthony Nolan. Poppy's little Scotland's Best Dog trophy was in there, and then all the photos of the two of us. So it kind of got people to see, the little personal side for us. And then we had these boards that Ewan had designed and made that had little facts and figures about us and about the people at the event. And again, it just got people talking and kind of looking around. And then there's a local dairy farm that do the most amazing gelato ever. I mean, we were there last night.
Is this where you went, like, was it yesterday?
Yeah, it was
on Instagram. I've seen it.
Yeah, it's -7, and it's like you can go and have ice cream, and they've got these pods that are heated. You can go and have ice cream -7 outside in the snow in these heated pods. It's just fantastic. So they provided ice cream for us because we were like, we have to have this ice cream at our wedding, and yeah, we had that there. We had a Ceilidh band called the Jacobites, who were just incredible. They did the traditional Ceilidh dances, but modernized a lot of the music. And then even when I was coming down the aisle, I added in a little something because I finally got Ewan into watching the Marvel superhero series because I love that stuff. I love Marvel. And Ewan was like, no, it's too far-fetched. Got him watching Captain America, and that was him hooked. So we wanted to have like an Avengers type theme within the song. And I came down to The River Flows in You, and just a lovely piano piece. And his uncle plays the piano. but literally just the last couple of seconds of it, it merges into the Avengers theme tune
No way.
on the
That's
piano.
amazing.
Yeah, and it was just like, and whether people caught that or not, I don't know. But for me, I absolutely loved it. And then I had like my two brothers doing the readings, of which Alistair, bless him, made everyone cry because it was just so,
Aw.
he got upset. And Poppy came down the aisle with the rings, and it was funny because we had sorry, I'm kind of like going at like different parts. It's all coming back in like different stages. So coming down the aisle, Maisie, my niece, she's 4 years old, and she had the job to do of being the flower girl. So she had her little basket and putting flowers down, but she got a little bit stage fright in front of a lot of people she doesn't know. So her dad, Ewan's brother, picks her up, and she had her head buried in his shoulder, but she was still putting flowers down. So it's like, I don't know, but I had a job to, so she covered the aisle in flowers. And then when Poppy came down, I realized we hadn't trained Poppy with petals around her, because Poppy then was like, oh, what's this? And would like stop, put the basket down, and like sniff and try and nibble at the petals. But then,
That makes it better though. That makes it better.
and then when she realized that Ewan and I were at the end, she picked up the basket and legged it towards us. And then she was like paws up, quite happy, wouldn't let go of the basket. And then she did let go of the basket. And then she went round the back of me, got stuck, and like 360 rolled almost in the back of my veil. So there's a really funny picture of my head backwards and the bridesmaids trying to get her out of my veil. She's completely tangled herself in my veil. It's hilarious.
Has this picture ever made it out into the social media world or not?
Not yet. No, I do need to. I'll put it out there for people to see, because
it's got to be out there, surely. That's brilliant.
It's funny, bless her. And then she kind of Jen took her back and kept a hold of her, and I think Jen had done such an amazing job because Poppy just slept then for the rest of the ceremony. We had a friend who made our cake, and she's an amazing cook. Like, she makes some incredible things, and she was like, yeah, I'll give making a cake a try. And she absolutely nailed it because the cake was just stunning. And we had this little cake topper that was kind of a little extra treat that we had for ourselves. So we had this ceramic cake topper with myself, Ewan, Poppy, and Milo, and Ewan holding his camera to signify him being a cameraman, and I was holding a pair of goggles and arena fins in my other hand.
Ah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so that's up on our bookshelf as like a memento for the day. And for me, the best moment was seeing friends and family who have never done a ceilidh before on the dance floor all night dancing, doing all these different ceilidh dances. And I just loved it because we just wanted people to have fun. We just wanted people to celebrate the day with us, but to actually enjoy a little bit of Scottishness and, you know, meeting everybody. And to show that it was a really great day, we both got COVID 3 days later. So.
Lovely. Well, if you hadn't, then you hadn't done it properly. So there you go.
Sign of a good ceilidh. But yeah, it was lovely. It was just such a nice day. And for me to have the people there that, you know, probably we wouldn't normally get to have, you know, I feel very fortunate that we had our grandparents there. We had relatives who might not travel up to Scotland again. You know, it was a very, very special day to have. And the weather was great. You know, it wasn't overly sunny for end of August, but it was clear enough that it was, yeah. The words kind of fail me at the minute. It was just such a nice day, and it just cemented the sort of 10 years that Ewan and I have been together, and how our relationship's grown and developed, and friends that we've made, and the friends that we've kind of built with the family, and it all kind of coming together for everyone to just celebrate. And that's kind of what Ewan and I always say to each other. It was just a big party to sort of celebrate us committing to each other. And everyone says, oh, how is married life? And to be fair, we're kind of both in the same position where we're like, it's kind of no different. I mean, I've not killed them yet, but it's
just the same apparently, but I've just got an extra ring on.
Yeah.
No, but that's lovely though. You don't want it to be different. That's why you're doing it, because you love that person and you want it to continue that way.
And we've been living years before anyway as well. So
yeah, exactly. But if anybody who's listening would like an insight into how beautiful it was, go to Hannah's Instagram, because there is pictures and a lovely video. I remember watching the video about 50 times, just like, I think I was with my best friend who's also called Lauren, but I was like, I think I was sat next to her and she was like, how many times have you watched that now? And I was like, when you love seeing certain people happy. It was one of those moments. It was just like, it's so nice to see that you had such a wonderful day and clearly did it correct, because you did get COVID, which was like, well, yeah, you've done it right. But no, it's just that honestly, it was so nice. And I think we will definitely have more conversations about it. It's got to come up here and there. Hopefully that picture will come up as well on Instagram. Looking forward to seeing that. But it's been so nice to catch up.
It's been awesome. It's been lovely it's been long overdue, I feel, but it's so crazy to see how the year's gone and it's the end of the year.
I know, I can't believe it. 2023 is soon going to be here. We will be coming back with the next season where we'll be discussing all sorts like we do. But we did just want to do an episode just to kind of wrap up this year, see what we've been up to, and just get ready for next year. So keep looking out for our new season early next year. But Hannah, it's been great to catch up. This is the start of the podcasts again. And have an amazing Christmas.
You too.
Yeah.
So excited for it. It should be good. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas.
Thanks, Hannah. And we hope that everyone listening does as well. And we will speak to you very soon.